time. That was an awkward transition, but here we go. Hopefully this will be good. Yeah. So, this is the game itself. Kind of has this, looks like it's got, I'm trying to remember what type of art style this is, when it kind of utilizes like a photoshopped, cropped, and filter kind of look to it. And I think this is the game that's given off that vibe. So it's from different tales, and we're gonna be at least getting one ending completed. I am feeling a little bit tired at the moment, so I'm thinking if I am able to get at least one ending, because this is like with multiple, since it's a visual novel, there are multiple endings that can be made and different choices to be made. A lot of things can be made, but not eggs and bacon. Probably ripped flesh though, if we're werewolves in this day and age. But in the meantime, I do want to give people a little bit of a heads up, because this game, as well as many others, is currently on sale through Humble Bundle through its Black Friday sale. And if you type in !game into the chat itself and you like what you're seeing, well, you can purchase this game for about, I think, a little over half off its regular price. Or if you happen to be a member, you can get up to 20% off more. So that would be around over 70% depending on how you allot your discount. Because as a member, you can either have it where you allot yourself the maximum amount of discount, like 20% off automatically, or you can exchange it in between some for a discount and some for charity. Because Humble Bundle lives on the donating to different charities through the bundles. So, with that said, this game is quite heavily discounted. So if you like what you're seeing and want to try it out for yourself, go through a different path that I will most likely be a part of, then this might be your opportunity to do so. It's going to be going on for another 10 days, I believe. So basically until the end of November. So feel free to give this game a shot if you are so inclined. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and get started. You're going to hear a lot of reading since this is a visual novel. Prologue. Premonition. Alright, let's start. Okay, so I have willpower, rage, health. This is a game about rage and how it helps us do things that need to be done as well as things that we later regret. Sometimes both. How do you feel about that? I try to think before I act in some circumstances. I try to be as calm and collected as possible. This is okay, your rage is low. So you're the observant and cunning type. That's okay. There's no right path here, just your decisions and their consequences. Let's just follow the path to see where it takes us, or consequences, smonksequences. I'm smarter than that. Let's go ahead and follow the path. Alright. The forest. The woods are full of stars. They flicker, come closer, run away. They want me to chase them, to play hide and seek. I'm gonna be the observant type. Okay, so this is basically building up my stats. Kind of like in the same way. Hey, Rampage Sigma, greetings and salutations to you, hope you're taking care. Welcome to the stream. So they're basing my stats off of the choices I make, kind of like in the same way with Vampire the Masquerade. I watch as they dance around the tree trunks, float up on the gusts of wind that shiver through the branches, disappear among the leaves. There are words in their dance, but I don't understand them. Not yet. Then they bunch up and fly toward me like an arrow. Rushing down, they're soon upon me. But just before the spear of light pierces my breast, they disappear and the dark of the night returns. In the darkness, the spirits keeping the forest alight whisper about the enemy. I begin to move, unnoticed, one with the night. Let's wake up. Alright. Cold and alone. Confused, I open my eyes. The forest around me is thick, dark, and reeks of decay to such an extent that it's hard to breathe. Okay. So we can go with the smell fascinates me. Depending on what scent it is. It seems to be rotting bodies in this case. Oh, and that must be me. I am Maya, a Homid. I recognize this forest, or why am I here? So, if the smell fascinates me, I must have a thing for corpses, and I'd rather not go too deep into that, so I'm gonna pass on that. I'm gonna say, why am I here? Because I have absolutely no idea what this forest is. My head is spinning. Why am I here? There must be a reason. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy, are covered in ripples of lichen where the vines haven't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base are overrun with nettles. The fungi radiate with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms cling to the fallen trees. Let's see here. I try to breathe, I'm cold, or something is rotten. Well, if we're around decaying bodies, I think something is indeed rotten here. So, let's see what that could be. I can't shake the feeling that something died nearby. I look down and see my hands covered in a dark substance. I'm naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid is clinging to my skin. So I can feel it on my face. In my hair. Blood. Okay. So basically, I might have just killed someone as a werewolf. Delightful. So, am I alert or do I hide? I'm gonna go ahead and be alert. Because something must be watching me in some way, shape, or form, perhaps. Despite the rotting corpse around my facility. Nature is never quiet. The leaves rustle in the wind. Small creatures shuttled in the undergrowth. There is a whisper. I don't recognize what it means, but the word resonates in my head. Garu. Now, I recognize that word from somewhere. I remember there was a title, I believe, called Garu. Mark of the Wolf, I believe it was. Who said that? There is a severed head right in front of me. Some choices are hard to make, and they strain your willpower. Okay, my willpower is basically at 2 right now, and my rage is no better. I'm gonna wince and touch it. So that... okay. Whoa! That's actually kind of cool. I like that as... wait. Hold it. Just to be safe. Just to be safe there. I could have sworn I saw something exposed, but I could be wrong. But I'm gonna put my body, my voluptuous body, to cover it up just in the moment. Overcoming my disgust, I gently touch his wet hair and watch as the head topples over. The face is contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open as though the head were still struggling for air. I look at it and start to laugh, and then eyes open in the darkness. Okay, eyes are opening in the darkness, huh? Well, in this case, I'm not sure if it is the enemy quite at this moment. So I'm gonna say who is there. I can see the silhouettes shades of jet black against the darkness. They smell of fur and moss and bloodied earth. Massive creatures, some with horns, some with antlers. Their eyes burn like small, fiery windows into hell. I look at them and something wakes inside me. Okay. Honestly, I don't know if I can really be defiant in this case simply because my rage is very low. So I might have to panic. I might not be strong enough against this foe. I get up and start to run. I catch my foot on a gnarled root and fall over. The branches reach out for me, wrapping their thorny limbs around my legs. I struggle and fall face first into the ground. The moss covers my face and pushes itself into my open mouth, choking me. In a moment of clarity, I almost understand what the forest wants from me. And then I wake up. Okay, now I can move my body. There we go. The body. Chapter 1. Arrival. Okay, so that was the prologue. Not too bad, not too bad. Though it looks like both my rage and willpower are still on the low side, so I have to watch out for that if the stats are still in its place by this chapter. I am intrigued. I am very much intrigued in this so far. So let's start. Dreams. Maya? Maya! I'm not even sure that's how you pronounce it. Maya, wake up! I opened my eyes. My neck was stiff. I stretched lazily as I assessed where I was out of the corner of my eye. I wasn't in the forest anymore. I was in a bus. The sun streaming through the windows was making it hard to see. The girl next to me was touching my shoulder, disturbed. I guess I could comfort her. I'm friendly, yay! It's all right. I squeezed her hand to comfort her. She looked at me, concerned. You had a bad dream. The memory of the wet earth clogging my mouth was still there. I fought the urge to wreck. I think I would have been glad that I wasn't alone in this circumstance, because something like that would have taken hold of me in some way, shape, or form. Thank you for coming with me, I said. The girl next to me smiled. I think we're almost there. Her name was Anya. We met a couple of weeks earlier on the orientation day. She was from Norway, a tall, broad-shouldered, calm person who wore her long hair into braids. Somehow, I'd managed to talk her into this crazy field trip across the land of my ancestors. Oh, yeah, I guess we can go ahead with this option, since I am friendly. She seems excited. Anya reaches into her backpack and took out 2 apples. I'm really happy we decided to come here, she said. Yeah, I said, offering her some of my kabanosi, dried meaty sausages that were so much better than the original Polish ones back in the US. Oh, so she has a little bit of a Polish background then. I was glad Anya had decided to come with me. I had problems keeping friends around and really needed one. I did some searching, she said from over her phone. And this place is amazing. The largest primordial forest in Europe. This trip was my idea. That's the only option we got. Our summer language course was starting in a few weeks, and I managed to talk Anya into skipping the tours of concentration camps and old churches and visiting. Let me see if I can actually pronounce this correctly. I mean, I'm mostly Polish on my end, so do I have what it takes? Białowieża. No, that's not K in there. Białowieża National Park with me instead. So far, it's beautiful, she said, her eyes smiling. But why are we here again? We don't know. We just wanted to not, be reminded of the atrocities the Germans did back in the day. Ooh, maybe that's probably a good question. Good question! Why were we here? There being Białowieża. Oh, Białowieża. Białowieża is a village in Poland's Podlasie province in the middle of the Białowieża, for which it is named. A small village in northeast Poland near the border with Belarus. It was famous for its national park, the very last European bison, and, according to a quick web search, occasional tensions between far-right troublemakers and the local Belarusian community. The most honest answer would have been, because I've been dreaming about the forest and Białowieża. No, how you pronounce it again? Białowieża. So, Białowieża. Again, I feel like it's just being beaten like a dead horse. Since I can remember. But people don't understand when I said things like that. I look her in the eyes. Let's see. Okay. So, my willpower is basically not that great. So, I don't know if I want to tell her anything. Let's tell her as much as I can. It's complicated. I wanted to see the forest. I heard it was a must. That wasn't technically a lie. When I was little, my grandfather told me stories about an ancient forest full of wonders and the wolves that lived in it. It was all I got from that part of the family before my mom took me, ran away, and cut off all contact with my dad. But I remember the stories well, and I remember the name of the forest. Let's see. Pushka. Okay, Pushka Blywontfeska. It's one of the last and largest remaining parts of the primeval forest that once stretched across the European plain. The forest home to the last of the European bison and a couple of other things here too. Oh, hold on here. Think we got it. Just had to readjust a few things. This will always be my home, my grandfather used to say. So we're gonna wait for a response. What does he say? Anya fell silent for a moment. I think it's great that you come here from such a magical place, she smiled. The last ancient forest in Europe, thousands of years ago. I wasn't sure if I was fond of that magic, but it was hard to ignore. And that was precisely why I needed to do something. Anything about my family, that damn forest, and my weird-ass family. Oh, future! I said family accidentally. I wasn't there by mistake. I planned this trip for a month, with a clear goal in mind. So, we got 3 options here. Are we there to face the forest? To learn the truth about my roots? Or figuring out the destiny? I can only imagine facing the forest would be like facing the music in a way. I mean, the forest was very prominent in the dream. So I'm thinking that it would be good to face the forest and why it's been plaguing my nightmares as of late. My dreams, my grandfather's stories, the fact my family was from there. There were just too many coincidences. The forest wanted something from me, and it was time to find out what. But honestly, I had no idea what to expect. Welcome home? Blywontfeska looked like an overexposed photo of a village with the contrast turned all the way up. It was a hot, sleepy day on a hot, sleepy street, and everything, the old trees, the yellowed grass, the weathered wooden houses, the fences, seemed almost normal. Everything except the shadows. They were sharp, as though they were freshly printed with the darkest of inks. And they moved away from that location. Yup, no more pointy shadows for me, please. For a second, I could have sworn they've moved. But then I realized it was just a black cat walking down the sidewalk. When it saw me, it stopped in its track. I decided to ignore it. I watched it with suspicion. I tried to pet it. Well, I don't know if petting it is going to do any good, because it probably knows that I am a wolf of some kind. Let's watch it with suspicion. Hey, do you think there are rabbit cats? Cause this one is acting weird. I mean, there are rabbit squirrels, why not cats? She shrugged, looking around. Didn't you say your friend would be waiting for us? But he wasn't there, and the cat was still staring at me. Let's go, Anya put on her backpack. I'm tired, and I really need to find a toilet. Good idea. For a moment, I was tempted to just get out of the sun and worry about my missing friend later. Let's see. I decided I didn't need him, but the meeting was just too important. I'm gonna keep with Anya, because my rage is not that vast at the moment. I grabbed my backpack and started walking. I'll manage on my own. Thanks for nothing, I muttered under my breath. Anya sighed with relief and followed me. Alright, here we are. Okay, let me see if I can continue to say this correctly. Białowieża. No. That's so much different from what I said in mind. Werewolf-ska. Ska. I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it soon. Had a few hotels and hostels, but the preferred form of accommodation was bed and breakfast. That's where we stayed. Good! I like a good bed and breakfast. I found one that was nice, clean, and had good reviews. We had a room on the second floor with a huge window and a great view of the forest. We dropped off our stuff and freshened up a bit. Maybe we should have waited for your friend? Anya asked, concerned. I shrugged. I'll find him sooner or later. Hopefully, he doesn't find you first. Before you go, check out your character sheet. Look for it in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. You will find a load of useful info about Maya, her background, personality, goals, and so on there. You can also check who your friends and who your enemies are. Alright? Alright, so I am 24. I am a student. I am American, but apparently I have some Polish heritage. I'm mostly spiritual. Kind of analytical and inspiring, but not really cunning or brave. I'm healthy in the mind. And... okay, so it seems to update every time when I make some important decisions here too, from the looks of it. Okay. Okay. Białowieża was a quaint tourist town, but you had other things in mind. Ooh. The lay of the land. I had a clear goal in mind. The forest was calling me, and I was ready to answer the call. Anya went with you. Okay. Alright. Let's go ahead and go to the forest. Oh, is that the man that I was going to see? It was dark in the woods. Dark, humid, and chilly. The leaves didn't lead through a lot of the sunlight. Oh! I wasn't really properly introduced to Daniel. Oh, I just noticed the blinking owls. Ooh, man, is that you?
Oh, hi.
Daniel looked at Anya and me over his shoulder. How do you like her? We met maybe 20 minutes earlier. Anya had Googled local guides, and he was apparently the best person to go if you wanted to see the forest. So I found him. Now here we were. I wasn't sure whom he met, and he was a strange one. Well, we are all a little strange. You know, own unique facets. Don't give a hoot. They just like to stare you down. Hello, Trippy Jing. Did I say your name correctly? I do apologize if that is not the case. Greetings and salutations to you. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the stream. And if I happen to have butchered your username, you're more than welcome to type in how it's pronounced in the chat. And I'll be hopefully able to pronounce it with absolute vigor and accuracy within the next time around. I'm gonna say I wasn't sure whom he met in this case. Do you mean the forest? I asked. Polish was a strange language that gave the most unexpected genders to objects and items. Oh, lovely. Okay, got it. Thank you for clarifying that. I mean, pushka. He gestured around us. The words sounded like the wind rustling in leaves. Pushka. Pushka is the right word. Not forest. Forests are like fields or orchids. Cultivated. He spat as he said it. And Pushka, she's older than even the concept of fields. He was using the word as though it was a name. I stood there and watched the forest, or I looked at the Pushka again. Let's continue to stand there and watch the forest. I'm intrigued. I looked around with fresh eyes. Spiritual. Yay! This is where my spiritual traits come in. I felt as though I entered an ancient tomb. Gigantic, dead trunks were decomposing slowly around me, young plants and colorful mushrooms sprouting from them. The trees that still lived stretched toward the sky like columns holding up the vaulted canopy, which blocked out all but a few rays of sunlight. There was stillness and there was movement, darkness and light. If spirits existed, that place would be swarming with them. Okay, so what we got for options? I loved what I saw. That might fit closer to the spiritual aspect, I believe. It was alien, like something was strange and probably a bit discomforting, I believe. Oh, this is the third option. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna say I loved what I saw. Sympathetic, Daniel. Okay, Daniel is sympathetic. There should be more places like this, I said earnestly. Or more of this place. Daniel lifted his head and looked at me right in the eyes. Yes, you're right, he said with a serious expression. He was a strange guy. Slender, but muscular. Not the CrossFit type. It was more the kind of strength you get from working all day long in the open. His skin was weather-beaten and bronzed by the sun, like tanned leather, and he moved in a very deliberate way. But his fingers were slim and delicate, and his eyes were the strangest shade of yellow-green. Then I remembered why I was there. Okay, so let's see. I told him that I dreamt about the forest. Now, this is the person that we basically hired to have someone or escort us. So I don't know if I really want to detail them everything about the forest yet. I don't know. That's probably a paranoid side of me in this case. Let's be a little bit cautious to be on the safe side, I think. You look like you know all the local legends and folktales, I said. I didn't elaborate why I was interested in the topic. Daniel stopped abruptly and turned to me, watching me for a while. His nostrils flared as though he was tasting the air. I don't share them with strangers, he said, and then hesitated. But for some reason, Pushka doesn't think you're a stranger. Come on, he started walking. I know exactly what you need to see. That piqued my interest. Ah, yes, we got more willpower. The forest recognized me. Lovely. I feel honored. So I was right. There was something hidden in my family's past, and it seemed to have a lot to do with the forest. Every time you learn to do something significant that brings you closer to your goal, you regain willpower. Good to know. With every step, I was getting closer to solving the mystery. All right, let's follow him. Don't leave us into a trap. At the crossroads. We have to cross the path, he said. There's the old wolf den, or I can show you the barrows first. Or a clearing that some folks call a place of power. Let's see. Where do I want to go? The wolf's den, old stories, families divided. The barrows, ancient graves, buried secrets. Or the place of power. Magic? Tourist trap? I don't know. Something about me and being able to control my rage. I don't know if the place of power will be the best place to really go to. If anything, I feel like the wolf's den is more up my alley, or then again the barrows has some buried secrets that might pique my interest. Which one should I go to in this case? Let's go to the wolf's den. Just one small thing. We started walking, but after a few steps he stopped abruptly like he remembered something. Then he turned to me. Could you do me a favor, please? He asked. It depended? Sure. I mean, Anya is still with me. I guess we could do it a favor. He's been good to us. Yeah, man, sure. What do you need? I smile. He ran his hand through the moss on a dead tree trunk, smelled his fingers, and then reached into his pocket. He took out a small stone. I could say it was just a stone. Could it be an amulet? Or it was valuable? I mean, something tells me that this has some significance to him. But would it be something valuable? Maybe to him it is. Let's compliment him in this case and say that it was valuable. Oh, I got some cunning. Nice. I'm gonna need a whole lot of that, apparently. I felt my fingers itch. The stone was valuable. I wasn't sure why I thought that, but there was something possessive about the way Daniel held onto it. The game tracks the decisions how Maya approaches problems. They accumulate and gradually reveal what kind of a person she is deep in her heart. The story changes to reflect Maya's personality. I would like you to take this stone. He held out his open hand toward me. And throw it in the direction you think we should go. Let's do what he asks. Let me get out my little buddy then in the meantime. There we go. Little pumpkin buddy to guide me in the right direction. Thank you for the redeem. Okay, I said, reaching for the stone. I took the stone and closed my hand around it. Be careful, whispered Anya. It felt alive. It was just a stone. I was curious. I mean, something about it kind of makes me think that it was something much more than just a simple small stone. Like there is a thriving presence in it. So I think it might be alive. It was warm, and I could feel it pulsating. I closed my eyes and thought about the wolf den, trying to imagine that place. I smelled fur. I felt warmth. I was safe. Let's throw that stone. I felt my hand rising entirely on its own, and then throwing the stone as far as I could. When I opened my eyes, there was a path where the stone had fallen. I haven't noticed it before. Okay. Daniel patted my back. Let's go. Let's see, what was the purpose of this? What happened exactly? And, okay. I'm curious. I want to know what happened exactly with this one. Pushka, sympathetic. What just happened? I was confused. You were accepted, he answered with a faint smile before he turned to head deeper into the forest. Ha ha! I was accepted! Delightful, the forest thinks highly of me, at least to some extent. The owls are still judging me harshly, though. I feel. The old den. Hey, look at me. I'm filled with blood splatters and I feel fabulous. That's probably not the right tone to have, but it kind of does look like this person has buckets or splats of blood on them from the way that the textures are laced on them. Oh, and I just realized that's a wolf's head. That's the grass, isn't it? Oh, you can hear the mosquitoes and flies. Ah! No place like home. The old den. The first thing I noticed when we stopped was a pine tree. Was it the same pine tree from the prologue? I remembered it. Small, twisted, and crooked, with roots sticking out of the side of the hill on which it grew. I knew it was wise. Every bend of every branch held hidden knowledge that was waiting to be discovered. Months before that, when I decided to come to Poland, I dreamed of that tree. I was sure of it. Just like I was sure that under its roots I'd find a burrow, and a few feet away another one, like two dark eyes gazing at me as I approached. Daniel passed me and approached the tree. He pressed his cheek against the trunk. Hello, he said quietly. I said nothing. Was there someone else there? Let's say hello to the tree. Hello again. Yay, it's friendly. Hello again, I say quietly. Daniel looked at me with surprise, but didn't comment. This is the den, announced Daniel. Is it abandoned, of course, but still worth seeing. Why was it abandoned? Yeah. Everything is wolves all the way down. Yes. That seems to be the implication throughout all of this. I'm curious why this was abandoned in the first place. Let's not talk about how unimpressive it is, because I feel like that's gonna upset Daniel to some degree. What happened? I asked. Humans happened, Daniel sighed. Wait, Anya's probably in the back was like, what? We're humans, right? And then Daniel and I basically look at her with those eyes like, oh no. This was a trap. He sat under the tree, leaning his back against it. It was a hot spring morning when they found this den. No one knows who the men were, not even though it was only one human generation ago. There were 6 cubs here under the roots of this tree. He stopped stuttering and seemed to enjoy telling the story. Ah! So probably something that fascinates him or holds dearly to him so much that the stuttering ceases to be. Because I knew that there was a little bit of stuttering in the speech patterns and the lines. Let's continue listening. And I enjoyed listening to it. There was something calming in his voice and the way he talked. His slow gestures and wistful eyes made me feel as though I was with the cubs on that hot spring morning. I don't think they wanted to hurt the wolves, he continued. They probably thought they'd been abandoned. That's why they took the cubs with them. Humans have this instinct that makes you try to befriend everything, especially if it's dangerous. Okay. Okay, so if I choose this one, that basically adds to my rage, like I'm angry about this. But I'm gonna try and stay kind of limited about this. Let's go with, yeah, we would like that. Uh-oh. Oh, for a moment it's like... Okay, so, looks like I can probably overcome many obstacles, but I wouldn't be able to overcome a lot of obstacles from the looks of it. Yeah, we are something like that, aren't we? I smiled. I'm not saying it always works out, but the intention is good. And I believe the men who kidnapped the wolves wanted to do something kind, he continued. Anyway, they took them. Out of the 6, 2 lived to see the cold summer that day. The wolf mother used to come to the farm we were at and home. People were gray if they heard her. Went gray. I heard that howl. And suddenly, I heard that howl. I knew exactly how it sounded, and I felt despair and longing gnawing at my soul. I remember how the cubs had reacted. They were silent. There had to be a... Oh, cutting is increasing more and more. Good. I feel like I'm gonna need a little bit of cutting as we progress onward with this. When she came, we never answered. Young as we were, we understood. There was no going back. Survival was the only law and despair was a weakness. Maya? Are you okay? Anya asked, putting her hand on my shoulder. I'm gonna say it was nothing. I liked how he told the story, and I felt for the cubs. I liked how he told the story. You're such a good storyteller, I said, trying to brush it off. For a moment there, I felt like I was one of them. Thank you. Daniel sighed, looking at the tree and the burrow. The cubs that survived were sold to some people and... Let's see if I can pronounce it. Krajnuvka. But after a while, both of them ended up back in Biavoveska with the scientists. They have a station in the national park. One of the wolves, Kazan, was a celebrity of sorts. If you saw any wolf pictures, photos from there, they were probably a Kazan. He was even on postcards. Ooh, a little bit of a celebrity. They shouldn't have moved the cubs. I kept thinking about the mother. In the end, the smartest cub survived. Yeah, that seemed to be the case. I'm gonna go with that. Daniel was friendly. Yay! Good old friendly Daniel. It's impressive that Kazan survived, I decided. He was smart to befriend people. Daniel smiled. Survival is always good. He agreed. There was a slight gust of wind and the tree creaked. I remember that sound from my dreams as well. A sound that made me feel safe. Let's see, look at our options here. How often had he shared that story? I looked at the empty den. You know what? I'm warming up to Daniel, and I think he's warming up to me too, especially with how the forest is especially being kind. So, let's go ahead and ask, what happened to the smartest cub? Kazan. And what happened later? I felt like I knew Daniel well enough to ask that. Is Kazan still alive? He lived for 8 years in the park. Daniel looked at me with his yellow-green eyes. Until they let another male wolf into his pen. I held my breath. They fought over the she-wolf and Kazan lost. Anya looked up from her phone. I read about that! She sounded upset. They didn't notice he was wounded. It took him for 3 days to die. Aww. Daniel shrugged. He lived a long life and died fighting. He was good. We fell silent. Poor little Kazan. He looked at the barrows for a long time. This place is my friend. So I try to keep it important and respect it. I think it's my mission, you know? You know what? Let's relate. Let's relate to this. Let's continue to warm up to Daniel and not, conflict with such, uncompromising, no, not uncompromising, from probably judgment. That's the word, judgment. I think I understand. The forest had a way of sending people on missions. Daniel looked at the tree one last time. Goodbye, he said. Let's also say the goodbyes. It's only polite. Goodbye, I repeated. Prushka is loyal. Okay, so we're not getting any antagonistic traits as of right now. We seem to be getting the more positive ones, and that might be beneficial for this storyline. Alright, between the trees, the forest was alive around us. Vigilant, there we go. I finally got the words down. But not alarmed by our presence. I kept thinking about the stolen cubs. Maybe, okay, so it looks like we can either go to the place of power or the barrows. I guess we'll go to the barrows next. The dead hills. The trail soon disappeared. Sometimes we walked along a barely visible path made by some animals. Sometimes we followed a stream or a gully. But for most of our trek, we walked through the dense undergrowth. Daniel was a great guide. He had no compass in hand, no map, yet we were heading dead north, and he moved through the forest with grace and ease. Like it was his backpack and he was showing us around. Oh, I bet Daniel was saying goodbye to the forest, the wolf's den in this case, and not goodbye to us. Maybe? I mean, Daniel is still with us. It seems to be that case. Either that or I'm just absolutely confused. But it was a pleasant walk. I am bewildered, but I am having a grand time walking. It was a pleasant walk. There was always a path through the brambles. The ground was even, and the branches stayed out of our way. I almost felt like the forest wanted us to find a way. Let's see. Daniel was a mystery I decided to solve. Hell, I feel like I'm being absolutely intoxicated by the forest. So let's continue down that path. I'm intrigued as to how this is going to go down. Oh look, more cunning! Yay! Holy crap. I'm at the same level of cunning as I am spirituality now. Walking through the forest, I couldn't decide what to do. I wanted to see, hear, touch, and taste everything. Wild strawberries were hiding in the bushes, fresh and sweet. Leaves glistened with droplets of dew. Snails, pebbles, strange plants and mushrooms. Armies of ants marching across our path. Everything was a treasure. It was as though the pushka was showing us the best it had to offer. I wonder if I'm getting so intoxicated by the forest that I just give in. If I do this, my willpower goes down. And maybe I might need that willpower for something else more pressing. Let's just take what we want. I couldn't resist the temptation. And when I spotted something I liked, I took it. Ooh, look at that. The forest is giving us some good eats. The best fruits she ever tasted. The taste of the fruits were unforgettable. More real than anything I've ever tasted. So none of those pesticides then. Huzzah, the forest is... You know, something tells me that this game has a bit of an ego-friendly message. I don't know. I'm thinking as early as I am within this game itself, it's basically as I'm going down this path, it has this message about how good like nature and the wildlife, natural things are. So I'm assuming that the writers of this game had an intent to show off, you know, more of an ego-friendly side to things then. And so far, I mean, nature strikes back. I mean, it doesn't seem preachy to me. I mean, it's through the perspective of this one character here, which we're having ourselves conveyed through all this talk. So, yeah, I'm interested in seeing more. It does seem like it's going in that direction, at least for this path, at least. Shouldn't you wash it first? Asked Anya when I reached for another wild strawberry. We continue in science. Screw you! I eat what I want. I can be poisoned and poop it out later. We've been walking for a while when I noticed that Daniel's steps had become slower. He was also slightly around more often and I hunched slightly. Okay, I can say it. Fuck! We were lost! No, I trust Daniel. I trust Daniel in this case. Something must be off. Daniel wouldn't be so easily, lost in the forest. Was it the barrels? I'm gonna be intrigued. I'm gonna be a little bit inquisitive about this circumstance. It might be something within the barrels itself that leads Daniel to have a much more lethargic pace. Are we there yet? I asked. He froze for a second as though he'd forgotten that I was there. Tricky to find sometimes, he mumbled. Be quiet for the moment, please. That was when I felt it. Ash in my mouth. The smell of smoke and wet soil. And a pole. So was I actually being... Oh, so the fruit I actually was tasting was actually ash? It was an illusion? This forest is... I knew where to go. I'm gonna say it felt really weird, especially if there was ash in my mouth. I felt weird, I whispered. Something like a pole? He looked intrigued, but not surprised. Okay, try to focus. Tell me where it's from. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and focus. Let me grab some water here real quick before I commence forward. Okay, let's focus in that energy. Be spiritual. Tap into the forest's soul. I focused, and soon enough I led us to a path on my left, under a dead tree. He followed me, and I followed my feet, knowing exactly where they should go. Under the crooked tree, past the dead tree trunk and the sponge-like mushrooms, across the patch of wet dark green moss, all the way to a place that didn't look much different than other parts of the forest. Until you noticed the mounds. There was something about the flattened hills that drew my full attention. Okay, what are the choices? They must have been bigger in the past, I could remember, or I felt dizzy. Yeah, I almost feel like if there were mounts here, they would have been much more epic in scope. I could imagine them vividly when they were built, the tall, proud barrels, the dead decomposing underground, returning to the earth, feeding all the new life that was growing from them. The trees around us were the fingers of the dead sticking out of the ground. And then it happened. It was a feeling anchored in my chest, akin to the taste of ash in my mouth and the smell of smoke. Longing, sadness, resignation. But wait! There's more! A sense of sacredness. It filled me with a calm excitement, and when I closed my eyes, I saw a fire burning in the darkness. We get to hear voices! I skull details around here too. The village was long gone, its houses burned to the ground, its people slaughtered, but the spirits were still there. Oh! So it's like the forest is being possessed by dead spirits then, huh? From a tragedy? Let's read on. They accumulated over time, some in ancient Roman armor, some in rags, some in animal skins, some in uniforms from the world wars, some in modern camo. Are we dead? Where are we? They asked me with frantic whispers. Is this hell? Let's see. Oh, the frantic nature is coming up there. Okay, so let me see. Kind of makes me wonder in this case. Do I say that there were just echoes? Something that can just be easily brushed off? Or do I say it was paradise? I mean, I'm so infatuated with this forest, this entire area, that I'm starting to feel like my character would consider it a tranquil and peaceful place. Like something that they could live in forever. So, let's go down this rabbit hole. No, it was paradise. Just not for them. When I opened my eyes, Daniel was watching me. You were somewhere else, he said. You said you had family here? You know what? I'm developing a good relationship with Daniel, even though we've only met today. So, let's be honest. Let's nod. I heard that my father's family came from here. I nodded. I don't know much about them, though. He sighed. I don't think you should be here, he said tersely. You're not ready. Oh! Well, I guess if I don't really have that much rage in me, probably not. Let's just say that I'm not ready. I mean, I could use a bit more experience. Yeah, I think you're right, I said and followed him. On the way back, I was lost in my thoughts. The voices in the vision knew what I had to do. It's almost as though it was expected of me. So, we could give in to the rage and discard that thought entirely, or we could ponder if this is what the forest wanted. Maybe the forest, with all of his skeletal beauty right here, might be onto something. Daniel said that the Pushka had called me. Was this the vision showing me what the forest needed? You know what? Let's accept it. Max willpower! Hint. The forest showed me visions of blood and fire. I smiled. A bigger picture was finally starting to come to light. The Pushka wanted me to see her hidden side. The walk back was uneventful. Okay, I'll take it. I mean, we're still blood-soaked right here, but we can take it. Those are just lots of berries that we decided to puncture into our wardrobe. Alright, in the shadows. I felt a little tired. The shadows of the enormous trees cooled the sweat on my skin. The taste of ash lingered in my mouth. Well, it looks like we have no other place to go but the place of power! Looks like there's no other option, so let's go into the tourist trap. A buzzing in my ears. It started with the hair on the backs of my hands rising. The air around me seemed brighter, lighter. The leaves in the tree trunks turned yellow and my skin started to prickle. I realized that I couldn't hear anything except for a low buzzing that was filling my ears. I couldn't think. Words appeared and disappeared in my head faster than I could notice them. I had to do something. Snap out of it. Let's take a step back. I mean, we got 0 rage. This might lead us to something. Oh, look, wolves. There's more wolves in there. Now, I just noticed. I took a step back to assess the situation. I looked around and noticed there was a clearing nearby with some kind of wooden construction in it. There was also a shadow, a silhouette of a person moving slowly, deliberately. So, wait, is she still with Daniel and Anya in this case, or did she go by herself? I think she's still with them, but I could be wrong. Let's approach. We had no other choice. The clearing was a plateau between huge boulders. There were double-trunked trees between the rocks. Oh! Okay. We got someone in meditation. I definitely am on the spiritual path, aren't I? This might be the most pacifist run yet. Maybe I won't even become a werewolf in this time. Maybe I'll just be like a hippie werewolf. You know what? That would be fine. I see nothing wrong with having a more peaceful and tranquil life as a werewolf. I mean, I got the willpower to fight off the rage and not go ballistic. Okay, so where was I here? There were double-trunked trees between the rocks and the angular wooden construction that stuck out of the ground like a sore thumb. There was a bike leaning on it. But more importantly, there was a man, and he was moving in the most beautiful, harmonious way I'd ever seen. Wait, in that pose? Was he floated up? Is he like Senyatta? Is it Senyatta? A Senyatta werewolf. I prefer the Nutcracker skin, personally. Then the way you could put these nuts in their face. Ah! Yeah, having these nuts in my face is hypnotizing. I looked at him for a moment, at the way his muscles danced under his tanned skin, trying to trace his movements. Before every grand gesture, every stretch, and every push, there was a micro-movement, an impulse from his core, but I could feel it was even deeper. The energy that had been filling me earlier took form. It was flowing in rhythm with his steps, with the flow of his hands. The words came out of my mouth seemingly without my knowing. What did he do? Yeah, I guess this would be the whole definition of a place of power then. You know what? I would like to inquire how he was able to do that, especially in a meditative pose. What? How? What did you do? He smiled. It's a little bit complicated. He stretched his hand toward me. Oh, wait. Can I do German? I don't know if I can do a good German accent. Especially the hard ones. Without sounding like stereotypical. Well, I'll give it a shot, but I'm just gonna warn you. I'm not good with accents. At all. He stretched his hand toward me. I'm Cornell, he said with a hard German accent. Should you be on the login site? Daniel asked him after I introduced myself. I needed to center myself, he answered. The others are still there, don't worry. They were cutting down trees in this forest? Oh! It is having an eco-friendly message. Okay. Alright then. I mean, if you got one of these as the answers, it would basically take you to something that tackles that sort of objective, that sort of world issue, climate change and whatnot. You know what? I'm gonna go with the first one. Wait, logging? Here? I couldn't believe my ears. He smiled bitterly. Yes, logging. Here. That's why I needed to calm down. Oh, he's a werewolf too, huh? This place is special, Daniel said. Some people call it a place of power, as I told you. And they have a good reason to, Cornell added. Look around you. So I looked. It was a clearing filled with light. I could see Cornell's traces, a beautiful pattern on the ground. But there was one thing that caught my attention more than anything else. What could that be? That he was shirtless? Does he have a nice six-pack, maybe? I mean, he does look quite well bodied in this case. He does look like he has a good, sturdy physique. But let's see. The tower spoiled the serenity of the scene. The boulders around us were strange. Fruit trees? Do I give in to my rage in this case? Do I let my inner ego terrors run free? I mean, it would basically contrast him trying to focus and center himself. So maybe I shouldn't add to that agitation. I'm gonna say the boulders were strange. These rocks, someone brought them here, right? Right? I asked, looking at the boulders, which, upon closer inspection, formed a circle. The stones were irregular and nestled deep in the ground. People believe there was a place of worship thousands of years ago. Hence the fruit trees, the stone circle, and now the tower. And indeed, there's a lot of energy in this place. You felt it, didn't you? So either yeah, or it was probably the heat. Oh yes. I mean, you, looking at you basically has got... I feel a lot of energy looking at that nice six-pack there. Ooh, those biceps are also looking splendid. Something to that degree, I can only assume. But you know what? I'm just gonna say, yeah. Neutral is a good standing. Yeah, I felt it, I said without enthusiasm. The Perska is wounded and in pain, and it calls out in range to anyone who can hear it. Hear this call is louder. You see, the logging, his eyes darken, is slaughter. Yup. This is definitely going down the eco-friendly path. Yup. I mean, if they weren't planting trees after they basically cut them down, then I would probably be a little bit peeved myself. Anya gasped quietly. Yeah, Anya, you don't really have much of a presence in all of this so far. You said a few things in dialogue, but at this point, you just are in the background. Every priceless thing can be destroyed by greed. Logging is illegal, of course, but illegal is sometimes just a way of saying a bit more expensive but still profitable, especially for huge corporations. The forest is hurt, the wound is getting bigger, as it is its desperation. Yeah, if you don't even bother to plant seeds for new trees, then yeah, kind of scummy in a way. Really scummy. Alright. Who was doing the logging then, since I don't really have much rage? Aha! I now have higher cunning than spirituality! Yeah, let that cunningness grow and foster more. Alright, so it looks like he's sympathetic too. I frowned. Who's doing the logging? I asked calmly. If anything was to be done here, it had to be done in an informed way. Cornell regarded me for a moment with a faint smile. You have a connection with this forest, don't you? You should come to the logging site and meet everyone. Absolutely! Anya said eagerly. It sounded good. Maybe he can help me with the dreams? You know what? We could maybe inquire from him. I mean, he does seem like he has a hard focus on his spirituality. So perhaps he could assist or just hear me out? Let's go with that. I looked him over for a moment. Hey, did any of you maybe have strange dreams about the forest before you got here? He looked at me, a look of concern in his eyes. And it looks like, yeah, you would think that, well, honestly, if I would have been on the more aggressive path, I could probably see this being more horrific. Like if I were to, basically engulf myself with rage, it would probably be more gruesome, I'm thinking. But it looks like I'm going the hippie route at this point. And luckily, since this is like a role-playing visual novel, this isn't the only ending that you can get, or the only path you can take, which is nice. I like it when it gives you that kind of replayability. Okay. He looked at me with a look of concern in his eyes. As I said, you seem to be connected with the forest, and very sensitive to the things that are happening here. Pay attention to your dreams. Especially tonight. This place is known to communicate in that way. He jumped suddenly and looked at the wooden tower and the bike I noticed earlier. The Swambe is getting restless, he said. And, as Daniel pointed out, I should be on the login site setting up the protest. Oh, there's protests in here too. We are starting a movement. Down with corporations cutting down our trees! Alright. What is a Schwabe? I asked, confused. He named this bike Swallow, Daniel explained. He loves it very much. Cornell grinned. Oh, I do. Why did I say it in that way? Bike love. I want to ride my bicycle. I like to ride my bike. I like to ride my bicycle. I like to ride it where I like. That gives more implications about the Queen song, don't you think? Nice meeting you, Maya. All I wanted to do was get out of there. I'm not feeling the good vibes here anymore. The moment he disappeared, the buzzing came back. It wasn't as strong as before, but it was there. All I wanted to do was get out of there. Okay. We went on through the greenery. The buzzing in my ears slowly decreased. Okay, so now we're getting back into the town. Pogorask. Yeah, let's go back to the town now. Serendipity. As we walked through town, Anya nudged me and pointed at a tall, broad-shouldered, freckled guy, standing at the bus stop with a lost expression on his face. I remember his face from the pictures on social media. It was the friend who stood her up earlier. You know what? I was glad to see him. Let's just go with that. Bartek? I waved to him and smiled. Sorry I missed you earlier. Maya, what are you doing here? He blurted with surprise when he saw. I was sure you missed the bus. We started walking and talking. His accent was broad and East European. See, I don't know if I can really go with these accents in all honesty. My knowledge. Ooh, falling leaves. That's right. Ooh, falling leaves. Oh, wait, my accent. Oh, look, falling leaves. Okay, I flooded him with questions. Anya liked him. I caught him looking at me. Let's see about Anya. Anya took an immediate liking to him. I could tell. I always could smell romance in the air. Oh, what if I want to romance her? Well, okay. We walked. Where's that jealousy? Where's the option to show my rage? We walked along the only street in the village, near in the center, if you could call it that. Every house had a garden, and the air was dense with the fragrance of flowers. Take that nice deep breath. So, did you find anything linking me to the forest? I asked. Bartek shook his head. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry. He was avoiding my eyes. A trickle of sweat ran down his temple. He looked afraid. What's up, man? I smiled. Spill the beans. I'm a big girl. I can take it. But he just clammed up. You know what? I think you should drop it. I think you should drop it. I stopped. It was almost too easy. He was scared of something. I felt almost too easy. Bartek tensed up, but I just shrugged and smiled. Okay, let's go. I winked at Anya. He looked like I pulled the rug out from under him. But you said it was important. I played the best friend there was. Okay. Let's decrease the willpower a little bit. I'm sure I can basically get it back up later. It was important, I said. Sounded much more sincere than I felt. But I care about your feelings, and if you didn't want to tell me, that's fine. Well, he brushed his forehead with the back of his hand. I did ask. I started with my old people here. I told them that my friend from the States was looking for her roots and wanted to know about the place her family came from. You know the drill. At first, people were very, receptive. I waited for the other shoe to drop, and then I mentioned your name. He shook his head. So does she have a reputation here? I wonder? Must be. Let's not give in to the rage. Bartek, no dramatic poses, please, I urged him. The tension is killing me. One of the old men here told me to go to hell. The other spat on the ground and his white crossed us. For a moment, he looked younger and smaller. And then my own grandmother told me to stop asking. She said something else as well. All right, what's going to happen? What? I asked. She told me to pray for you. Suddenly, the sweet golden afternoon wasn't so sweet and golden after all. Let's just laugh it off. Ha ha ha! Nicely done, I punched his arm and laughed. I almost thought you were scared of me. Bartek smiled awkwardly. Yeah, it was just old wives' tales. Look at me, I winked at you. Do I look like the big bad wolf to you? We walked in silence, but my mind was in overdrive. People didn't want to talk, and that could only mean one thing. I'm getting that willpower back! Nice! Ha ha! I wasted, but then I gained it back again. I'm using it. My pulse quickened and I tensed up like a hound that smelled blood. I was on the right track. Let's gather those thoughts. It was a long day, a lot has happened, and I was really tired. It was good to meet you in person, I said. But I need to be going. All this traveling and walking through the forest, it was exhausting. I smiled. Sure. Where are you staying? It turned out we were going the same way. Of course. Let's go back to the bed and breakfast. The first evening. The B&B was quaint. I left Anya and Bartek outside. They were lost in the conversation, didn't even notice that I was gone. When I got out of the shower, Anya was back, smiling and a little flustered. What a day, she smiled. So, what do you think? I made a quick mental inventory of everything that had happened that day. They were cutting down the forest. Place of power sure made an impression. Daniel was a strange guy. I was moved by the story of the wolves. I was freaked out by the vision at the barrows. Let's see. Which one would I want to pick out of all of these? They're giving me a lot more options. I'm not going to say Daniel was a strange fella. I do know they're cutting down the tree. I say I was moved by the story of the four wolves. The wolf cubs that were kidnapped and died in captivity. I sighed. The story stayed with me, you know? She put a hand on my arm. Divided families, huh? It's okay, Maya. Alright. And let's say I was freaked out by the vision at the barrows. Something strange happened when I was visiting the old barrows. I said instantly regretted it. Never mind, it was probably just dehydrated. Yeah, it was probably it. But you looked weird. She laughed nervously. A lot of things today were weird if you think about it. Yeah, probably. They were cutting down the forest. I can't believe they're logging here, I shook my head. Isn't the forest on the UNESCO list or something? Yeah, I know. I want to check out this protest people were talking about. Maybe you could go there tomorrow? Place of power was... I felt this strange... Oh, so we're basically just pushing them in any order. I thought you could only choose like maybe 3 of them. Okay. I felt this strange energy in the place of power before we met Cornell. It still freaks me out. Cornell seemed cool though, Anya answered. And he seemed to really understand what you're going through. You know what? I don't feel like talking anymore. You know what? I'm seriously tired. Let's call it a day, shall we? Soon we were both in our beds, ready to sleep. Even though I was tired, sleep didn't come quickly. Anxiety is spreading its cold, writhing roots deep in my chest and stomach. I lay there for some time looking at the silver rectangle painted on the wall by the moonlight. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the tangled branches, the stone Daniel asked me to throw, the leaves. I came here with one question, and now I have so many. I felt I was closer to getting my answers. I felt like that the answers I was looking for were within my reach. I should go and see the logging protest, find Cornell and make him talk. After a long while, all these thoughts became blurry. They slowly started to turn to pictures, sounds, and colors. Time to sleep! Up, time for a nightmare! Alright, here we go. Okay. 2 black holes underneath a crooked tree stare into the night, quiet and vigilant. I tremble. Something is coming. It's huge and monstrous. I am a seed. Oh! Hello. I didn't think it was going to be that kind of seed. Thankfully, nothing is really showing there, so I think we should be good. I realize I am a seed. I float on the air, then I land in wet soil, die and sprout. My roots will blow up the earth. I feel a pull. And I surrender to it. I float toward a clearing. Oh! Okay, here's some graphic imagery now. They're being pierced by the roots! There are piles of fresh corpses of people who died too young, skinned, and mutilated. Their loved ones stand around them, grieving, unable to do anything, waiting. And suddenly, they were just trees and tree trunks. I start dancing! Yeah! I mean, I look like I'm ready to give a good old dance. Yeah, let's go with dancing. Oh look, my cunning went up by dancing! Holy crap, I'm at 6 cunning now. I dance among the fallen trees. There's no time to weep. We must laugh and live and be ready to strike. There is a stench in the air like meat rotting in acid, but somehow worse. I see the monstrous army. The mandibles are whirling chainsaws. The long metal arms are wrapped with black pipes that look like glistening intestines. The smell is vile. They wait. Unmoving. Let's go ahead and turn to the forest for the answers. The dead don't hold answers, and neither do the machines. I walk between the trees, trying to hear the wisdom. They whisper to me, telling me to look at the sky. There, between the stars, two shapes circle each other. An old sad wolf with gray hair and a white weasel. They keep their eyes on one another as they continue their dance. Suspicious, but not hostile. We need to fight the enemy. The awful, rotting stench. I know that much. But how can we do that when we don't trust each other? They stop. They look at me and the clearing. Let me see. Do I basically laugh at them? Or do I look at them in a cautious manner? Let's go ahead and laugh. You're pathetic. You're at each other's throats while the real enemy grows stronger. Once again, I don't recognize the words, but I understand. They come down to me, and their voice is the voice of the Pushka. We've been calling you, and you finally came. Do I have to clean up afterwards? No, we'll absorb it. Wake me up and die. Alright, chapter 2, we're going logging. No, we're trying to stop the logging. The day after. The next morning was full of sunshine and birdsong. I could smell the heat of the afternoon building. Those long, onion-like hours in late June when the earth isn't tired of its own warmth yet. But it was crisp and pleasant now. Let's get up! I sat on my bed for a moment, letting my feet dangle from it. I felt overwhelmed. The weight of the previous day had coiled up somewhere in my chest, and I didn't really know what to think about everything I've learned. And the dream! Then I remembered the dream. The clearing, the animals in the night sky, waiting for me. I took a shower, ate something without really paying attention, and went out. And Anya joined me! We were halfway through the forest when Bartek caught up with us. You were right, Anya. The protest is important. Alright, let's go to the logging site. As I walked toward the logging site, I noticed there were more people heading that way. A police car, a couple of SUVs, a TV truck, young people on bicycles, a green Land Rover from the Forest Services. When I got to the site, it felt utterly surreal, like I stepped onto a movie set. Anya looked around. So, what's the plan? To stop the logging, I had to figure out the forest. I need to find someone. Let's figure out the forest here. I need to figure out what the forest wants from me. Let's look around. I looked around. On my right was the ancient forest. On my left was the freshly torn clearing. Ahead of me, ruined in the view, were huge logging machines and a group of people arguing in their shadow. Nobody paid any attention to me, which was good. I needed to play this by my old rules. Let's look at the clearing. The trees they cut down lay in the middle, thrown together, lifeless, limp, just like in the dream. Surrounding them were the harvesters that killed them, and people who squabbled over their corpses. The protesters, the reporters, the police, and of course, the loggers. The harvesters loomed over the clearing, reeking. Alright, let's see who that familiar face is. Cornell was arguing with the woman with gray dreadlocks. The protesters were clearly conflicted. Maybe I should solve the conflict. They need... it could be fun. Oh, my cutting is getting more and more boisterous, it seems. I went closer, looking for a laugh. This could be fun to watch. One of the police officers yelled and nervous at something I didn't fully understand. I smiled. Police sympathetic. I smiled at him and said, I don't understand in my best Polish. He smiled back. Oh, he said, you're one of them, and then let us go. Then I noticed someone joined us. Then I noticed that someone used the commotion to sneak with us past the police. A girl with disheveled, bleached out hair. Is that the one with the gray dreadlocks right there, I'm thinking? Don't worry, she patted the officer on the arm. It was off a pickup line anyway. He recoiled. You shouldn't touch me, ma'am. You know what? I owe a smile. Pat sympathetic. I smiled at her and wanted to say something, but I was interrupted. Pat! Cornell called through from the gathering. Could you come here? I need you to show Olga that chart. She sighed, reached into her backpack and taken out the tablet. And they're at it again, she murmured under her breath and winked at me. Coming. Oh. Pat, do you have the, I mean, looking at your face, you almost look like you're biting your lips there for some reason. Let's go towards the activists. As I walked towards Cornell, I heard more and more of the argument. Olga, you can't, Cornell was saying. Pat stood next to him with her tablet. She looked a bit amused. Do not fucking tell me what I can or can't do, Cornell, the woman with dreadlocks interrupted. I can, because they are destroying our mother. I can fight with all the means at my disposal, even if that means burning those harvesters to the ground. I noticed Daniel standing near her. He took a few steps back, went towards one of the harvesters, turned his back on us all, and pissed on the machine. It was a lethal piss. It probably makes it rust. Olga smirked. Oh, Daniel, you know how to bring the point home. He looked at her confused. Cornell raised his eyebrows. Burn the harvesters? Cornell asked calmly. In this drought? Olga, are you out of your mind? You know what I mean. We fight them every way we can because this is a fucking war, she spat. He sighed. You never seen real war in the shows. Nobody shoot at us and believe... Oh, wait. He's the one saying this. Okay. You never seen real war and it shows. Nobody is shooting at us and believe me, we wanted to stay that way. We need a peaceful protest. All right, let's approach. Hi. We need to talk, I said, approaching Cornell. Hello, Maya. Could you wait? I'm right in the middle of something here. In the middle of something? Normally I would wait for them to finish, but it was important. Let's look awkwardly. I looked at them both, Olga with her fury and passion, Cornell with his cool professional demeanor, and shared, without any reservations, what I felt about this situation. Let's say it wasn't about personal victory. Okay, now we got our spiritual side going up here. Honestly, there are a lot more solutions than violence, I said in a clear voice. And I think that saving the forest is more important than winning a war or a dispute. I only inflamed the situation. The argument attracted more and more people. Someone old shook their head and moved forward. They had deep wrinkles, a narrow mouth, and the unisex grace of a tired, heroin-preserved rock man. That's a description. I totally dug their style. They look out of place a little bit. They looked out of place with their shoulder-length, disheveled hair, a clean shave, and eyes highlighted with eyeliner. Bright blue nails, heavy army boots, a red skirt, and a tank top completed the look. And pins. Lots of pins. All kinds of LGBTQA plus flags, anarchist and pacifist symbols, and I think some German band stripes. Oh, and they address them as they. That's right, let's observe them. Olga, darling, you know I love you, but Cornell really knows what he's doing. Please, trust me on that one. They talked to Olga, but kept glancing at me as to check how I reacted. Fuck off, Kim! You don't even trust me enough to come here on your own when I asked you to. There was a woman on Olga's side. Next to Olga, there stood a woman, and she was the most beautiful person I've ever seen. Ooh. We're getting there, huh? I couldn't tear my eyes off her. She had a perfect hourglass figure, long braids, and the most stunning cheekbones. Is it this person? Is this... No, I think this is the one with the dreadlocks. Her eyes, slightly slanted, were a weird shape of blue, deep, almost purple. She had a peculiar accent. Kim, you want to teach me about violence? She looked them straight in the eyes. About fighting oppression? Just because your boss went to what? One mission in Afghanistan? Her Polish was peculiar, kind of mellow. Cornell winced. Lisa, leave Kim alone. He didn't know what to say, and it seemed like the whole discussion would be derailed. Maybe it was for the best. I let them solve it their way, and then Olga punched Cornell firmly in the face, turned around and walked away. He turned around, holding his jaw and wincing, and then he started to laugh softly. The conversation was over, at least for the time being. Cornell, together with his cronies, walked towards the reporters while Olga went back to the group of people standing in the shadow of an old oak tree. Yeah, the forest is my one friend. I looked at the pushka. The clearing, full of felled trees, was like a gaping, bleeding wound in the chest of a friend. Oh, looks like I have no choice. The rage is building up. I look at my friends. We have to stop this logging. Yes, just like Olga said, Anya nodded, excited. What they are doing is unforgivable, and we have to fight. It is a very complicated situation, Bartek looked thoughtful. I like what that person Cornell said, but we should proceed peacefully, not to discourse the public and potential supporters. I looked at one group and looked at the other. Alright, let's see here. The harvesters were dripping with black oil, and the forest stood tall, serene, and full of golden light. It looked like it could protect itself. And then I looked at the felled trees, dead, limp, and helpless. You know what? I'm gonna go with the protesters in this one. Cornell owed me some explanations. Hey, wait for me! I shouted and ran after him. Hello, Maya, he said. I see you haven't come alone. He reached out his hand. He was right in the discussion with Olga. I heard you talking, I said earnestly, and I think you were right. Was I? I couldn't tell if he was amused or flattered. His eyes were an uncanny shade of gray. But there was more to him. I think so. But there was more to him than his pretty bad boy attitude. I wasn't sure what it was, but I felt it. And he knew that I knew. Cornell looked me in the eyes. I know what you dreamed about. When the forest is under attack, it reached out and picked someone. This time, it picked you. And there's my willpower. The pushka is in danger. I looked at him, skeptical, but he seemed to believe it. We have the same goal. He looked back on me. Will you help me? Sure! Absolutely! But before I could answer, I heard a commotion and turned around. The reporters were coming our way, but the cameras were switched off and pointing at the ground. I have an idea. Yeah! Get that cutting up! Let me be the cunning female dog that I could be. Woof, woof. I mean, it's close to a werewolf, I suppose. Woof, woof. I ignored them and turned back to Cornell. There was a way we could use the media. I think we should spin the media, I said. Make the headlines. That's the plan, he nodded and turned towards the reporters. So, he asked. There was hinted impatience in his voice. The reporter shook his head and grimaced. Sorry, everyone, we can't do that anything. We're not allowed to cover what's going on here. Alright, let's see. Let's see. I understood. Then it hit me. The police weren't there to protect the protesters or the press. Yeah, it must be hard to do your job when the police is watching your every step, I said, and they nodded. There was a moment of tense silence, and then it came all together. Suddenly, I understood the dream. That was the moment I was destined to intervene. The protest was too quiet. They need inspiration. I guess to make the reporters understand, or we could still use the reporters. You know what? I'm feeling kind of inspired. Let's go with that. The voice of reason. I took a step back and looked at the bigger picture. Let's look at the protesters here. The protesters were a ragtag bunch thrown together by circumstances without a real clear purpose. They knew they wanted to protect the forest, but they didn't have a clue how to do it. Got any brilliant ideas? Cornell asked me. It's time to be a protester! Let's grab that microphone. I grabbed the microphone from the hands of a confused young man and jumped on a nearby tree stump. Audio feedback screeched and heads turned my way. I had one chance to take control of the situation. Yeah, there we go. Just look at us! I shouted loud and clear. The police are focused on their orders, the press are snooping for a good story, and we are convinced we can save the forest. We're all at each other's throats. It's pathetic. I consider my next choices wisely. We all understand how this works. I continue considering my next words carefully. Escalating will only bring more problems. We will all be here for a long time. Let's take a step back. They looked at me. I could see the same look emerging on the faces of the officers and protesters. The eyes narrowed, the jaws tightened. A journalist started to laugh. Who's grabbing my arm? I wanted to yank my arm away, but the grip was strong. You better go now, said Cornell. We'll take it from here. What did I? Well, I guess I wasn't so inspiring then. If they wanted me out of there in the instant. You know what? I'm just gonna go through this screen gaseous stank over here. When I was on the road to the village and nobody could see me, I doubled over and vomited. I always felt violently sick when there was too much to process at once. In the whole commotion, lost Anya and Bartek from my sight. I was alone. Or so I thought. The owls are back! Hey, are you alright? A voice behind me said. And I jumped. A woman was walking towards me. I'm gonna say it was too much. It was too much, I whispered. All of that. We walked slowly toward the village. Oh, I guess we can talk. We can talk. There's no other choice. I learned that she was the independent German reporter who'd come here about a month ago. Her name was Erica. So, why are you protesting the logging? She asked after a few minutes of small talk. We have to save the pushka. I think the pushka is unique. And when I saw how many trees they cut in just one afternoon, it broke my heart, I said, still shaken by the sheer number of the fallen trees. I have to do whatever I can to save the forest. I looked at her. And why are you asking? Oh, she has an interest. Okay. Do you know why they are cutting down the trees? She asked back. Because you do know that logging is done by a government company. The state forest? Okay, so there's more to this story than meets it. So what am I gonna choose in this little escapade, huh? I'm gonna say I had no idea. I didn't know that, I admitted. In fact, I knew very little. I know very little about this situation. I realize just what the others have told me. She reaches her notebook. It all started with spruce bark beetles. Erica looked into her notes and started explaining the whole situation. That year, the beetles' infestation was of catastrophic proportions. and the foresters decided the only way to stop it and save the rest of the forest was to cut down as many infested trees as fast as possible. Couldn't they just remove the dead trees from it? Maybe if they removed the dead trees, the infestation wouldn't spread. Trying to find a solution. They might do that, but dead trees are what made the forest unique, Erica smiled. There are 20 times more species living on the dead spruce tree than on an alive one. Was cutting down trees really necessary, though, for that? Stop the infestation, I asked, confused. The foresters state that this is the only way, she said. Some biologists argue that they are cutting wrong trees and doing it too late to change anything. Like, they basically found out at a much later notice, and they're trying to cut trees in order to save time, but they're just making things worse. Alright, let's find out if the logging is legal. I wanted to know. Opinions differ, but such massive logging in the UNESCO listed area might be illegal. Did they have to intervene at all? Maybe. Couldn't they just leave the Pushka alone and let nature take its course, I asked? That's one of the options, Erica admitted. But there's a drought and no one is sure the forest will survive on its own. It was a complex situation. But that didn't mean that I should step back, and I felt that Erica was deliberately playing the devil's advocate. Empathy can really go a long way for sure, and that can require a lot of willpower, even if you don't absolutely concur with their opinion. So you know what? I got full willpower. Let's go ahead and see. I see that you're trying to show me the whole picture, and I appreciate it. I sighed. I just hope there will be an easy answer. I'm just doing my job, Erica shrugged. I describe all aspects of the situation to you, but it's up to you to decide what you want to do. Tough decision. I shook my head. Why did the situation always have to be so complex? At least I was sure that they were cutting down the trees, and the Pushka needed my help. Let's laugh. Do you really think that you can walk through life just presenting facts and not taking sides? I said, laughing. Yes, that's what I do, Erica answered. It just doesn't work for me, I shook my head. When I'm just an observer, I'm not changing anything. She looked skeptical. You're not the only one feeling hopeless, she sighed. So don't let the complexity of the situation stop you. Life is always complex and yet we carry on. So what was right and what was wrong? I guess there's always so what should I do when I feel like something is wrong, I asked, exasperated. Did you believe that people can be evil? Hey, Gwenmara! Thank you so much for the raid of 17 people. It's always greatly appreciated. For those of you who are wondering who the blobby hell I am, greetings and salutations to you. I am Cuddlymuffintop, a half-human, half-blob VTuber who comes into the virtual world through the wonders of human slapstick. And thank you for the follow. That almost looks like a... Oh, hello. We got a follow from Yeetbot123456789, and hello to you, Matthew5487. Let me go ahead, for anyone who happens to still be here from my stream, I'll go ahead and shout you out, Gwenmara. Let's see. Yep, slapstick is always a nice thing. So, oh, am I following you? I don't think I am. Yay, there we go. I thought I was following you at first. Slap me? These flabby arms probably are gonna be too wobbly to give a proper slap if I'm gonna be completely honest. So there you go. You are now gaining the follow with probably the worst slap you ever felt. I need to improve upon my absorption, in all honesty. So, in case anyone's wondering, the game that I'm currently playing right now is Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest is. Oh, I'm fully aware of the roughness. I am fully aware of that, most certainly. But, yeah, it's like, my body sometimes is a little bit, it needs a bit more oomph. Perhaps arson. Ooh, arson, you say. Delightful. I see what you mean there. So yeah, this is like a side RPG that's in the same universe as Vampire the Masquerade. So, and like the same type of RPG books. Oh, no worries, Sam. I am a belly type of blob. The belly button eye kind of picks up a little bit about that. So, yes, you can definitely say that my look is very unique and can be a bit polarizing to a lot of people. So, I completely understand it's not going to be to everyone's satisfaction, so to speak. But hopefully you don't mind, and I can bring about a little bit of grand personality. Well, in abundance, let's just say. I'm not entirely sure. The owls are looking at me and judging me every so often. Oh, much obliged for that. I'm glad you like the design. So, actually, let me do another type of shout out. It is the ultimate thickness. I do weigh a ton in this shape, after all. So that's over 2,000 pounds. And if I eat more, I could probably go to kaiju levels. So it's like, yep, everyone's doomed. Everyone is absolutely due. All I can hope for is a little bit of arson. Well, I don't know if I have the right type of arson that you're looking for, but for my type of arson, there's always consumption. So here's a shout out then.
Oh, these? My boobies? My massive
Oh.
fucking titties? My stuffed up milkies? My hunger bonger doinky boinkies? My fucking fabric stretching wind flapping
Why?
belly welling sex?
Of course.
You mean these super
Yep.
duper ultra
I had a feeling it was going to be this one. I had a feeling. And the heart eyes. The heart eyes are the one selling point in that. Well, that was quite exhilarating. I'm sure for not only myself, but for a lot of individuals. I'm gonna have myself some water, and then we'll continue on to the tale with this devil's advocate. You can still have those booby moments and still be a bit wholesome if you wanted to. And then again, if you want to go the deprived method, then I'm not holding anything back on that either. Go ahead and do what makes you comfortable. As long as people are respectful of you. Alright. So, as I look deep into this, some people were bad. We could do bad things for sure. Wholesome before you forget stuff. I can forget stuff for quite a plentiful amount as well. So, I can feel that a little bit. Oh, yeah. Some people have thought that my design kind of looks like an SCP type of creature, or that one individual from Made in the Abyss, Muck from Pokemon. Those are some of the things that some people come to mind whenever they look at my design for sure. And it was kind of interesting to see the one from Made in the Abyss, even though I've never watched the anime yet. Upon looking at pictures, like, holy blobby hell, that does kind of look like me, except it needs more fat. Or maybe it does have fat. Again, this is me basically not watching the entire series and only looking at screenshots. Probably need to watch that. Bob? You mean the one voiced by Seth Green? No, not Seth Green. Seth Rollins. That's the one. What's... You mean Donkey Kong? That's probably the one then. Donkey Kong. And make any form of furniture. Any form of furniture, you say? A love seat, a couch, a table, coffee table. A cabinet? Well, let's get yourself some good questions. From the inside. Lovely. Okay, let's go from there. Some people do really shitty things, I shrugged. But is it just their actions or their nature? I said nothing. What's the matter, she asked. I shared my fear. Let's be vulnerable with this person that just looks like she's like going to caress my arm there for a moment, I guess. Something wasn't right with the whole situation. I don't know what it was, and that scared me. I took a deep breath, then I remember what Cornell had said. All that mystical stuff. So this game is basically a story about an American coming into Poland for a different type of, for a forest, kind of where she was born in. And of course, she's realized that she's having these visions and dreams about a particular forest. And it's kind of cultivated into something that has, you know, a primal instinct. Because she's a werewolf. And people are very hesitant or perhaps a bit petrified to know that she's here. And now we got some people trying to cut down the woods for logging purposes. And it kind of goes into an eco-friendly kind of vibe. As of right now. Then she... Well, it is a visual novel, so... It might be romantic? I mean, it is taking place in a supernatural setting, but the only real supernatural thing about this is like the essence of the forest and all of these illusions that kind of gives off, or these very strong, potent vibes. And then the werewolves. And they said that the forest needs my help. I shook my head. It's a lot to take in, and there was that foul smell back there. She looked at me with a weird expression. What smell? She asked. Oh. Because she's a werewolf, she can have a much more potent sense of smell. When this reporter, journalist doesn't. You didn't smell it? The officers reeked of something, like meat that's been rotting in acid, only worse. Couldn't even find the words to describe it. But the memory of the foulness still clung to the back of my throat, swimming in my sinuses. I know what you're talking about, she answered softly. But I don't think everybody can smell it. I looked at her and raised my eyebrow, questioningly. Her eyes. What about her eyes? What is going on in her eyes? Is it the same kind of eyes as Gwen Mara's eyes? Just recently? Are we getting heart-shaped pupils? Yes. It has this energy that's like only I can understand from what is going the story. Like I'm supposed to be the champion of this forest to save it from destruction. But there's a lot of gray areas that come from that, of course. Some just want to basically burn all of these people that are harvesting or logging, like these harvesters. And then we got some protesters who just want a peaceful end to the circumstances. So the harvesters are the ones that are basically letting the rage build up. So this rage, I mean, the more rage you accumulate, the more potent your werewolf prowess is, but you lose more of your control unless you have a good amount of willpower here. And if I go down to 0, I don't make a lot of good decisions. But I do have a lot of cunning. I'm not sure about a Giga Chat though. There was sympathy in her eyes. You'll learn in your own time if you stay here long enough, she said. And clearly wanted to drop the topic. She wants to drop it, so let's let it go, for her sake. I shrugged. Cryptic remarks never did anything for me. The situation was complicated enough as it was. I just hope I hadn't made things worse. Let's walk in silence. Time to regroup. Alright, let's see here. When I opened the door, I found Anya and Bartek sitting on Anya's bed. They were a little flustered and were nonchalantly trying to look like I hadn't interrupted anything. We lost sight of you, Bartek said apologetically. I'm glad you made it back in one piece. So, how was your day? Anya asked. I gave a public speech. I mumbled. I'm not sure how it went, but a lot of people listened. Bartek looked surprised. Did you have to get involved in this whole mess? I had to do something. Bartek had a point. You may have a point, Bartek, I admitted. I barged in and tried to sell problems that I might not yet understand. It's cool. He smiled. This whole business is a mess. I learned a lot. I learned about feelings. Did you know that the government supported the logging even when it was illegal? I shared my dismay. If they support it, it can't be illegal. Bartek crossed my hands. Of course it can, I threw my arms, flustered. I met a lot of new people. I met some very interesting people, I said, still excited. Yeah, they look like a colorful bunch, Anya grinned. Bartek rolled his eyes, colorful and uninvited. They sure are passionate. Passionate! They argue between themselves more than they argue with the loggers, I added. Yeah, it did seem like the case. I shrugged. Just another day and... Blavuvishka. I feel like I'm butchering that. We sat for a while in silence. You know, there's more to see here than Blavuvishka, Bartek said to me. You should visit Pogovelski, Bude, Teremiski, or Zheslonka. All the Polish people are gonna want me persecuted. See the open-air museum and the bison. The logging is not all that happens here. Maybe later. I'd love to see it all, I sighed, and I'll do them as soon as the situation in the Pushka is resolved. And how's the search for your roots going? Asked Bartek. Clearly wanted to change the subject. Let's just share. They say that when the forest is in need, it reaches out to people, I said. And for some reason, this time it reached out to me. Wow, Anya looked impressed. Honestly, I'm not sure what to think. But if you need something, just let me know. Good old friend Anya. Wait. Is this Anya or is this Anya? I never could remember which one is my main character, which one is Anya. I'm tired. Let me rest. I just sat there looking through the window. The day had been full on and I was exhausted. I didn't notice when I fell asleep. Up! Dream sequence! Up. We'll get into the werewolf territories now. It's quiet now. Yet I know deep down inside that something isn't right. I sneak. Well, hopefully I'm not dummy thick and the clap of my ass cheeks don't alert anyone. I'm sneaking through the forest to the logging site. It's getting dark. The light seeps away as though there are millions of tiny punch holes in the sky through what it can escape. And then the darkness starts to pour in. I know what I will see. And I see bodies thrown across the ground, bloodied, maimed, with their limbs torn from destroyed torsos. I can see some of them are still alive, still struggling for air, still trying to live. They are all trees, fallen trees, still alive, still struggling for air. And there's the stench. I see movement in the darkness, but I'm not alone. Wait. I wouldn't be alone anyway because of the bodies that are still struggling for air. Let's see the movement in the darkness. I see shapes moving in the darkness. They have long skeletal arms. They are wrapped in glistening black intestines. And each arm has a wide, gaping mandible full of whirling blades. They snap at me blindly. I turn around and see the forest move. They have horns. They have antlers. Their eyes shine in the dark, and they are ready. I watch them charge, lunging at the monsters, falling prey to the snapping teeth. I feel their anger wash over me, fill me with rage, and I rush to join them. And then I strike! Only when I know the enemy's weakness do I strike. I move unseen and unstoppable, breaking necks, tearing at arteries, ending lives. And I am the only one laughing. And then I wake up. I gasped and bolted upright. I was alone. The sun was setting, and in the deep red light, the room looked like it was bathed in blood. My pillow and duvet were on the ground, and I was sweating bullets. I looked at my legs. When did they become so hairy? I could have sworn I shaved them that morning. The change is happening. Wait, did she ever notice that it was a full moon? No, let's see. Standoff. Are we already getting nearer to the end of this, I wonder? I wonder how many chapters are in this, because this is apparently a relatively short visual novel experience. It's not very lengthy, unless you take the time to read it like I do, out loud. These hours will continue to freak me out, but I want to hug them all the same. I need to talk. I thought about going back to sleep, but I couldn't. Since I arrived in this village, I felt like I was falling down a rabbit hole. Or rather, a wolf's den. My dreams were getting more and more vivid, and I was scared. I needed to talk it over with someone I trusted. Let's see. So Daniel is more sympathetic, but Cornell, Anya, and Bartek, they're all loyal to me. Let's go with Anya, since she's been with me from the start. I come here with Anya, and despite all the strange things I've done, she's still stuck with me. I messaged her and she messaged me back. I'm on a walk, come join me. The sun had just set, and the moon wasn't up yet. Oh, that's a good sign. Yeah, very good, very good. The forest loomed on the horizon. The activist camp was somewhere there. Okay, so this is me. That's Anya. Now that makes sense. The activist... Okay. We met near the shop and Let me see if I can pronounce this again. Werewolfska. Feel like I'm still tackling it, splinting it open and chopping it to bits. With this pronunciation. It was a characteristic enough point, and easy to get into from anywhere in town. What is it? Anya asked. She looked worried. Something strange was happening to her. I know it sounds crazy, but I think something strange is happening to me. I'm scared, Anya. There is something strange happening, she nodded. But I have no idea what it is. I know even less than you. She frowned. Maybe we should go to your new friends. The activists? She smiled a little. They are weird. They must know something. Because they're so peculiar, they might have an idea what the blobby hell is going on. That sounds great. Alright. I smiled. That's why I came to you. You have the best ideas. She smiled and... Holy... Hey! Why in the bloody hell did you have to come between us, huh? Does it look like we wanted a sandwich? Mention to us when you're gonna crawl in like that next time, Bartek. Woo! You spooked me. Let's go. I'm sure they're not sleeping. Do you mind if I text Bartek? I mean, he's right there. I promised I'd meet him tonight. I didn't mind, and he soon joined us. Okie dokie. Let's get this going. All together now. The camp had a different vibe than the logging site protest. There were more people there. We looked around, trying to take it all in. The people in the camp seemed quite cheerful. Someone was singing. Who was the singing one? I heard 3 or 4 girls singing together in a unique Eastern European style called the White Voice. Have I heard that from somewhere before? I almost feel like I have. It was the most melodic, throaty growling I'd ever heard. Oh, throaty growling. Mean like that? No, I don't think that was very melodic. That almost sounded like it came from someone's nightmare instead. I listened for a moment. I stopped and just got lost in the music for a long while. People were milling about, setting up camp, cooking, preparing posters. Everyone was busy. I had no idea what your plan is, said Bartek, but you have my full support. I needed to see Cornell. Hello? Hello, I said as I approached. Cornell smiled at me. Hello, he said. What brings you here? I say that I'm just confused about the whole situation. I'm confused, I answered. Is it really true? I mean, all the stories I heard connected me in the forest? Cornell looked at me with those uncanny gray eyes. I could feel his attention locked on me. Yes, it's true, he said. And that's why we're here. To stop the government destroying the forest. To show that we don't agree and that we hope to make a difference. And you have your role to play. But will it work? I mean, it almost sounded like I made a fool of myself during the speech. I don't know. All I know is that it worked before. It worked for Gandhi. He also slept with his cousins bare naked, apparently. I think that's what happens. Gandhi's... I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me, but I heard that Gandhi would sleep naked with his cousins in the same bed. I could be wrong about that. Feel free to chastise me if that happens to be incorrect, though. Because my knowledge is a little bit lackluster. But that's the only thing that comes to my mind whenever I hear Gandhi's name, ever, in any context. It worked with segregation and apartheid in the end. It worked with communism. So let's see if it works with capitalism as well. Violence is not an option here. He smiled, and I think you know quite well that anger doesn't really get shit done. I mean, it can, but not all the time. Well, let's just say we knew it. I smiled back. Somehow being around him made me feel more relaxed. I know. You can count on me, I answered. The forest needed my help, and I couldn't be just an observer anymore. So, we may have a little citizen protest going on tonight, Cornell said. But I'll need your support if we want to convince the others. Okay. Let's see. They all wanted to do something that night, but after a whole day's discussion, they were still divided on what to do. 3 for one option, 3 for the other. I see no reason to back up Olga. Yep. Okay. So we're going to the peaceful protest then. I voted for the peaceful protest, and soon we were on our way to the National Park headquarters and education center. We had some banners to install. Bartek hesitated for a long time, but he joined us in the end. I'm only coming because my dad is out tonight and he won't see me coming in late, he mumbled. Anya also tagged along. Might as well. This is so exciting, Anya whispered. I've never done anything so illegal. Just don't do a merry dancing jump off the cliff, please. Don't be that type of enthusiasm. Alright. As we were on our way, I realized that we followed the path only because of my vote. I made a difference. Yes, I'm the most important person in this whole debacle. Yes, listen to me. I have the voice of the forest behind me. Why does it look like... Oh, it kind of looks like a mouth is split open by the side. There. It's like the head from the Canada. A citizen from Canada from South Park. Except Poland. As we were on our way, I realized that we followed the path only because of my vote. Oh yeah, I already read that. The National Park headquarters were located in somewhere called Palace Park. The name, like everything in Poland, was historical. Centuries ago, some king had his hunting lodge there, but now it was a mishmash of old and new buildings scattered around the park. Some were rough and bulky, made of stone and brick, while others were extravaganza of wooden porches. Wrath296, thank you so much for the follow. It's greatly appreciated. Welcome. Hope you're taking care. Lace-like shutters and meticulously sculpted pillars. There was no one around, but the area was well lit. Let's see. Let's just absorb ourselves in this. Let's be accelerated. Finally, a big shameless gesture, I thought, looking at the huge silhouette of the headquarters. Oh, there goes my rage. I mean, I gotta have a little bit of conflict here and there. My heart was throbbing in my chest and I was grinning from ear to ear. I felt alive and reckless. Suddenly, I remembered the church located just next to the Palace Park gate. I could feel its dark silhouette looming in the darkness, waiting. Let's be ready. Let's see what happens. They spent the whole day painting the sign on the length of material sewn together from what looked like old sheets that were various shades of grayish white. The dark green letters declared, "Wood is the enemy of the forest." Huh? Wood is the enemy of the forest? Like the wood for logs? Oh wait, this is the one with the stutter. I remember that. Where do we hang it? Asked Daniel, who come equipped with climbing gear. Let's see. Maybe we could go with the church. There we go. Let's cover the church. Remember the church near the entrance to the park? I gestured toward the gate. We could go there and hang the sign there. It will drive the message home. He paused, looked at me doubtfully for a moment, and then smiled. This boat. I like the way you think. Lisa cleared her throat. If you want to antagonize the whole village, then yeah, sure, that's the best way to do it. It doesn't matter, Olga said, because hanging the banner is a waste of time. You just want to go about killing people, don't you, Olga? I looked at her, curious of what kind of advice she could offer us. Really? Do you want to hear her advice? I let her talk. Olga looked at me as though she expected me to say something, but I didn't take the bait. It's a great banner. I'm sure it would look good on the pictures published by a number of independent political blogs. She looked at Cornell. But it's stuck so deep in the overeducated ecological dispute that people won't get it, and the loggers won't care. Cornell sighed and shook his head. I felt Lisa staring at me. The spirituality is coming through now. Why are you here? Seriously, Lisa asked suddenly, when Cornell disappeared around the corner. The old group was strained with hidden tensions. You know what? Let's lose a bit of willpower here in this case. We can afford it. To protect the Pushka, I said after a while. I can't just stand by as the logging happens. I feel like the forest expects me to do something. And I mean to do something. Anything, to be honest, I explained. I mean, there's this energy in me. And I just have to let it out sometimes. She smiled like she understood perfectly what I was talking about. Finally, we pulled the banner up. My father will have a stroke when he sees this. Bartek lets out a repressed laugh, kind of like... It's an important message, Anya looked up with fire in her eyes. The world must know! Okay, don't be too empowered by this, though, Anya. I looked at the sign, flying high over the park. It was okay, I guess. When we finished, Cornell gathered us together. We stood in a group, but I felt that everyone was standing apart. The rift between us deeper than ever before. Cornell sighed. Let's go for a trip, he said, to remind ourselves what we're trying to protect. Alright, here we go. Wait, is that me right there? Why do I look so grumpy? I look absolutely grumpy and that is me. The woods were full of stars. We cycle in silence, enjoying the company of the forest, as they enjoyed ours. After some time, the place of power opened up before us. The boulders looked relaxed. A soft breeze rustled in the trees. welcoming us. Anya, go ahead and chuckle. Let my rage go down a bit. This is exciting, Anya chuckled, and I relaxed. The energy was still there, I knew it, but it couldn't reach me, not if I didn't allow it to. I wondered if anyone else felt it as well. Did you guys feel that? I looked at my companions. Before anyone could answer, a loud sound tore through the silence. A gunshot! It's a Shia LaBeouf? Oh jeez. Anya gasped, looking around, wide-eyed and terrified. The others tensed up, but they didn't look concerned, just confused. We have to get out of here immediately! Oh wait, that was... Well now, okay. That was supposed to be a whisper, not a shout. Bartek's whisper was frantic and scared. There's a hunting party out here! Cornell turned towards us like he finally put something together. There was a rustle and I saw a bunch of men in camo, each of them with a rifle, coming towards us between the trees. Let's see. Maybe we'll take a step back in this case. This seemed dangerous. I took a step back, pulling Anya with me. The leader weighed us up for a moment and finally focused on Cornell. This area is closed for the night, the huntsman said in Polish. There was contempt in his voice. There is a hunt going on that you all are trespassing. We have police officers here, so I would go home if I were you, unless you want to get arrested. The man's hands were sweaty. Mom's spaghetti. His stance off battered while trying to handle the bowl of spaghetti and meatballs and Parmesan cheese. I'm hunting for the nice meat plunders for my good old bowl of spaghetti. It must be the roundest, most thickest meatball of them all, and you are not on that plate, unless you want to be made into one. Come, one oh, to the meat grinder. It can accept humans. Or werewolves. I could trip him in a split second if I wanted to. Let's turn to the forest for advice. This man, I realized, was no one. He wasn't important here. What was important was the forest and what it needed, and it cared about me and didn't want me to get hurt. There would be other knights and other people to fight, but right then I felt that it wanted me to leave. Holy moly, we're getting ambushed by wolves! I ran, the air in my lungs boiling, my skin slick with sweat, and the darkness thick around me. Anya and Bartek were running just behind me, or so I hoped. The wolves! We left the shouts and gunshots long behind us, but we couldn't stop. Something was chasing us. Two silhouettes, one lean, the other bulky. I saw them in the corner of my eye as they leaped forward. At first I thought they were people, but as they leaped, they got longer. Longer, smaller. I couldn't see clearly. It was dark, sweat was blinding me, and they were hiding behind the trees. I heard howling and growling, and then I saw there were wolves chasing us. I heard them snarling and snapping one after the other. Let's see. So if I tried to run faster, I would lose some health. If I tried to face them, I would lose some willpower. Let's try to hide. I pulled Bartek and Anya into the bushes. Maybe the forest would protect us. The wolves stopped. For a moment, they sniffed the air. Let's prick my ears! The snarling changed tone and then they started to whisper. And I understood them. Mine. She turned from your path. She has a heart. The voice was low and calm. She is the one. A speaker to the forest. Mine. Let's confront them. I've had enough. I stepped out of the bushes onto the path. I looked at the wolves. They looked at me. To be fair, they won. I felt strangely connected then, and I just started talking. Yeah, look at that. My cunning is at maximum potency. I am the most cunning female werewolf that you have ever seen. I heard a rustle in the leaves, and then there was a voice in my head. My little Ragnabash. I knew that it was the Pushka, and that she was pleased with me. I also knew that Ragnabash meant shadow. You're looking for me? I asked, hoping that my nonchalance will confuse them. The wolves dispersed, and then something happened. Something that I couldn't see clearly. And two people stepped out of the bushes. They looked at each other with murder in their eyes. Olga? Insolent as always. Olga growled and lunged at me. I closed my eyes. There was a series of wet cracks, like skin breaking, torn from within by muscles that suddenly grew, by bones rapidly getting longer, by fur and teeth and claws. When I dared to look, I saw two 8-feet-tall monsters standing in front of me on the narrow path in the forest. I knew it. Fuck. I gulped. I knew it. Everything finally clicked. I fucking knew it! And then one of the monsters clawed at the other, lunged, and closed its jaws on the other's throat. Blood splattered, drenching me, and before I could start screaming, it was all over. I saw life leave the strange gray eyes. The surviving monster lifted his black and white muzzle. It reeked of death and its teeth were dripping blood, and jumped at me. Oh no! Wait, gray eyes? No, Cornell! That's Cornell! The pain was unbearable. Nothing in my life had prepared me for this. Let's start laughing. Blinded by the blood in my eyes and the searing pain in my shoulder and chest, I could only laugh. This wasn't what I expected from this trip. You spent so much time planning, only to see your whole life crash and burn. All I could do was laugh. Am I dead? So I laughed, grinning with bloody teeth until my strength left me, and I couldn't hold myself upward anymore. The forest caught my fall with a bed of moss and twigs. I stopped thrashing, and a cold numbness engulfed me. Okay, this is gonna be risky. I could just give up right here and just let myself die, or use the last remaining willpower I have to get back up. Let's be crazy. I punched the earth, trying to get some feeling in my hands. I gritted my teeth and tried to get up. I collapsed again. I felt so cold. Suddenly, there was light. I looked up. The full moon. It looks like a blood moon to me. Condition impaired. Your willpower dropped to 0. When you use all your health or willpower, you become impaired. This will make physical traits if you have 0, or social mental acts you have 0, harder and sometimes impossible. The moon was a goddess, and she noticed me. Get up, she said. There we go. Now the werewolf. I get up. I feel good. I know that I shouldn't, but I don't remember why. I don't care. Let us stretch. My muscles are sore and cramped, so I stretch like I never stretched before. My arms are longer. My legs are longer. My heart is pumping, and I feel like I spent my whole life packed into a box, and I've finally been set free. Let your mind be clear. My mind is clearer than it's ever been before. I see the world in sharp contrasts of black and white, movement and stillness. I smell prey. I hear language in the hooting of owls, the whistling of the wind, and the snarling of wolves. I am one with the forest. Let that rage come up, yeah! I take a breath and feel my ribs and muscles move. The forest smells of blood, fear, and excitement. Yeah, I'm happy. I laugh happily and others' laughter joins me. We laugh and sing to the moon. Something stings me. I look around. Holy moly, okay, we're getting some bloody carnage here. There's a small malformed creature pointing a stick at me. The stick blazes with fire and there's another sting. The creature disgusts me. Its arms are too short, its legs bend the wrong way, it's covered with a tangled mass of dead plants and the skins of tortured animals. It reeks of things dark, slimy, and decay. Let's go ahead and push it away. I push the creature away and it flies through the air making funny noises. Kind of like... like that. Then it hits a tree and stays there, pinned to the branch like a butterfly. My ears prick, and I hear more creatures running blindly through the bushes. I feel better. My leg no longer stings, and I feel better than ever before. Is this a dream? Maybe it's a dream, I think as I move slowly through the undergrowth. The creatures are running away, their backs turned to me. They stumble and shout. Suddenly, one of them turns my way. It is terrified. Let me roar. I roar and the creature falls down and curls into a ball. It smells of ammonia. Piercing light burns my eyes. The creatures surround me. They seem to work like a pack. They are dangerous. Let me strike them one by one then. I hide in the shadows. They are too slow, too dumb, too clueless to notice me. I strike them down one by one. Some manage to defend themselves briefly, but most of them don't see me coming. Ooh, a new smell! I look up and see no moon, only clouds and tangled branches. Are we gonna change back? Something changed, and I realized how tired I was. I stumbled. Darkness imprisoning me. All that I see, absolute horror. Nothing. The night sky was full of stars. I opened my eyes. Confused, I opened my eyes. The forest around me was thick and dark. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy, were covered in ripples of lichen where the vines haven't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base were overrun with nettles. The fungi radiated with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms clung to the fallen trees. Something was wrong. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I looked down and saw my hands covered in a dark substance. Oh, so it's basically reverting back to what I said in the prologue then. I get it. I was naked. Yep, I crouched down and planted my palms on the soil, my eyes darting back and forth. I was being watched. I remember my dream and slowly lifted my eyes. I saw a mutilated body. Its severed head was right in front of me. I rinsed and touched it. Overcoming my disgust, I gently touched the wet hair and watched as the head toppled over. The face was contorted, the eyes bulging. Mouth open as though the head was still struggling for air. Yep, it's all coming back. No, it is dead! Oh God, I recognize that face. It was Cornell. His gray, piercing eyes now dull and dead. The head watched me with reproach. I cried. I felt tears running down my cheeks, and I let the sadness in. The brushes roses. And a moment later, I saw Olga. She came out from between the trees, wiping something red from her hands. She looked at me, at this head, at my face. Get used to it, she said. You're a werewolf. I looked at her. I blinked. Everything fades to black. Oh, delightful then. Oh, is that a bison right there? So I'm kind of wondering how many chapters are in this then. I should probably double check to see. Because I think I've been going at about 2.5 hours for this game, and I want to double check if I should continue, or maybe I should call it a stream in this case. Werewolf, the Apocalypse. Let's see here. Heart of the Forest. Maybe go with walk through. Here we go. Let's see. So how many chapters are in this? There are... Let's see. Okay, so there are basically 6 chapters. Okay. Got it then. So with that in mind, maybe it would be good to basically end it here, because we're basically at the halfway point with this game. So, yeah, I think this will be a good place to basically end the discussion. Okay, so we're about 55% there. Yeah. So let's go ahead and call it quits here. And, yeah. So, with that said, I had my first kill! Huzzah! Isn't that just great? Ah! Ah! Phlegm! Phlegm is trying to get at me! Ah! Well then, thank you so much for joining me on this very odd stream. I wasn't sure if I was gonna get this game completed or not. This game could be more quicker if I didn't read through the entire thing, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and complete this, finish it up by next Monday.